Welcome to where the screen door slams and the coffee mug hits the table. You're listening to The Family Balancing Act with me, Maureen Huntley, mom, grandmother, and board-certified holistic and functional medicine health coach. Each episode will explore the realities of your day-to-day family life in this modern era of nonstop texts, memes, and technology. After all, how do we keep ourselves sane and our family healthy? I'll have amazing guests and thought-provoking discussions, and we'll take a holistic look at family health, emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. Whether it's a micro perspective of family involving healthy snacks, teenagers with an attitude, stressed out husbands, partners, adult children, potty training, elder care, grandchildren, college prep, or a macro perspective of world events, including flu, earthquakes, the brainwashing media, finances, and oh, so much more. We'll find a way together. So take a deep breath, exhale, and know that you're not alone. Bring on the Family Balancing Act. Thank you so much for joining us here at the Family Balancing Act, where we are restoring the heart of motherhood, one conversation at a time. If you've been here with me before, well, welcome back. And if this is your first visit, it's an honor to have you here. So come on in, pull up a chair, grab a tea, coffee, water, green juice, because we have a lot to talk about today with my returning guest, Wendy Chiccetti, international astrologer, spiritual coach, and teacher with over 25 years of experience helping people just like you and me reveal their gifts and challenges. Her insights are mind-blowingly spot on. I'm Maureen, your host, board-certified integrative holistic and functional medicine health coach. I'm a mom, a grandmother, wife, and CEO of My Family Home Operations. If you miss any of our episodes, you can always find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, Podbean, Pandora, iHeartradio podcast, CTR Radio Network, and more. So sign up for my monthly newsletter and grab my free year-round holiday stress-less tips at MaureenHuntley.com. That's MaureenHuntley.com, where you can also find out how to work with me. I love what I do. Holistic solutions for health and well-being for women, moms, and their families. So deep breath. Exhale. It starts with you. Did you know that the average length of a hug between two people is 3 seconds? Research has shown that when a hug lasts 20 seconds, though, there is an actual therapeutic effect on the body and the mind. The reason is because it's a sincere heart-to-heart embrace that produces the hormone oxytocin, also known as the love hormone. It has so many benefits for our physical and mental health and helps us to relax, feel safe, and calm our fears and anxiety. And guess what? There's no cost for this magical feeling and is free of charge every time we hold someone in our arms. A baby, child, pet, dog, or cat, dance with our lover, or hold on to a relative, a friend, or a neighbor in need. I love to hug. I love to be hugged. I can feel the energy ease my day and worries, knowing that everything will be okay. So in my last episode, number 121, we discussed the VIA character strengths of kindness. That's the values in action character strength of kindness. And living our highest good. VIA is just one of the many tools that I absolutely love using in my practice. So today, it's spirituality. It is a strength within the virtue category of transcendence. And transcendence describes strengths that help you connect to the larger universe and provide meaning. And the other strengths of transcendence are appreciation of beauty and excellence, gratitude, hope, humor, but of course, spirituality. So what is spirituality? We all have it, but do we use it? Do we care? But
really, how often do you use it? And are you aware of it in others? It is true for many of the character strengths in the VIA classification, the strength of spirituality has many dimensions. They all do. Some of these include meaning, purpose, life calling, beliefs about the universe, the expression of virtue, goodness, and the practices that connect us with the transcendent. Spirituality has been defined consistently by scientists as the research for and the connection to the sacred, God, that which is blessed, holy, and revered. This can be secular or non-secular. Sacredness might be pursued as the search for purpose in life, or as a close relationship with something greater, i.e. God. In my humble opinion, it is both. The sacred could be experienced in the forgiveness offered by a child, or a humble moment between a leader and a subordinate, or an awe-inspiring sunset, or a profound experience during meditation or religious service, or the self-sacrificing kindness of a stranger. As a character strength, spirituality involves the belief that there is a dimension to life that is beyond human understanding. Spirituality is believed to describe both the private and the intimate relationship between us humans and the divine, and the range of virtues that result from the relationships. Spirituality is universal. So an article I just read in the Epoch Times, dated March 1st, 2023, by Gregory Jantz, it's titled, "The Power of Connection." Well, this spurred me to think about the connection through hugs and love and spirituality, and how it can show up from moment to moment in our daily lives, and how it changes our lives and our communities and the world. The connection to God, creation, through prayer, meditation, thoughts, and our connection to each other and the world around us. How it is the power to heal all hearts. Ask a mother as she holds her children close to her, how she feels. Or when you see the smile on the face of a child, or a teenager, or a young college graduate, or mother, father, or grandparent. The connection you feel when you're helping a friend who's in pain, as you listen, holding their hand with a big hug to seal the deal of validation. Or how about a father who reads a book to his brood while making funny animal noises to create the scene as the laughter and hugs and tickles and giggles ensue? As you pass strangers on the street, do you smile? Do you get the feeling that even though they might not smile back, you can feel a connection? You can feel the sorrow or the pain or the loneliness, but you can send them energy, an energy hug, love, good wishes. We can change the world with our connection to our spiritual energy. It's powerful and it's possible. So there's so much going on in our lives and the world, from political plays being played out to social media and the lamestream media. How do we fortify ourselves and our families? By cultivating and creating our connection to God, heart, soul, and spirit. My guest today is a woman who helps so many find that grounding, connection, and faith to stay in the light through her amazing work. She is pure positive energy. I am so very honored to have Wendy Chiccetti back at the Family Balancing Act table. She is, again, an international astrologer, spiritual coach, teacher with over 25 years of experience helping people just like you and me reveal their gifts and challenges. Her gift of teaching how to deepen one's connection to source is nothing short of amazing. Wendy just gives and gives. She has fantastic, inspiring workshops on astrology and the Akashic records and all that goes on in the world. And she also does consultations, readings, and so many classes. So here's Wendy. And what in the world is going on in our world, Wendy? Welcome.
Thank you, Maureen, and thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Oh, it's easy peasy, Wendy. She's amazing, by the way, for our listening. And I know I use amazing a lot, but I've had a reading done by you, and you did so much work on it. And I'm still, months later, digging in. There's just so much information. And things are coming up that you had pointed me in the direction of. And I'm blown away by it and amazed.
Well, that's great.
I love that amazing word. So tell me, where are we at in this crazy ass world of ours? It's like
we're reaching the zenith of the crumbling of our normal society in terms of the stuff that's going to happen. It's going to start happening really, really, really fast. Many more earthquakes, weather changes that will be extremely dramatic. March is going to be a very powerful month. The prescription, should we say, for earthquakes is very strong. There are a lot of astrologers who do the astrology of earthquakes, and just what's going on based on the planetary alignments. March is huge for that kind of activity. And so we've got that, and then also the issues with the water. And I know you're particularly interested in that.
Oh, I am. I mentioned that in the last two shows. I have had it. That water stuff, had it. And it's happening not only in Ohio, it seems, it's happening all over the place.
Yeah. No question about that. There is, and it seems so strange to actually think about the fact that our own government could be trying to hurt us. It is such a hard concept to get, but after being in politics for many years, I have a background in politics. To me, it's not something that is that unusual when you've been in the system. Well, but there seems to be a systematic destruction of our water, our food, our air, everything that's important to us. There is a systematic destruction of it. Now, you don't normally get like 12 train crashes
in a week or whatever it was. Yeah.
10-day period of time.
Yeah.
No, those were staged. Those were done with specific things in mind.
It's crazy. And to let our listeners know that you were a legislator in the state of Idaho for 3 terms, was it?
3 terms, yeah.
Wow. And that's incredible, because burnout I could see happening from that kind of stuff. And especially, it's hard when you're the good guy in politics.
Yeah.
And obviously with the systematic takedown of our water and our earth. I mean, I have a garden that I plant loads of vegetables in. Mm-hmm. And my concern was that this stuff is going to be, that's burning off, is like coming across state lines. It doesn't go, oh, we're not going to cross into Pennsylvania or New Jersey or New York now. It just rolls.
Well, and it's very interesting too, because I garden as well. And last year and the year before, in early summer, when we would get a rain shower, we would literally have acid rain. Oh. And it destroyed the leaves in a lot of the vegetables, in the cabbages, the whole tops that got wet, started to crinkle up. And the growth spurts in our pine trees, on a lot of them, those new growth spurts turned brown and just wilted.
Wow.
So they're spraying stuff in the air, they're doing all kinds of things. And not only on top of what we, the important things that we have, which is air and water and food, they're
Yeah.
destroying our children. They
Survival.
are deliberately trying to destroy our children.
That is without a doubt. I see that because of the health of kids. There's a lot of health issues out there right now for multiple reasons.
Right.
And certainly we can say this has been going on for a very long time. This is not a new subject, but it's new to many people.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I started to get into health and wellness 20 years ago, and realizing you have to eat vegetables and then they had the whole organic movement, but it's all a bunch of bunk because they're growing it in the same earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on my roll now. I'm just like,
well, yeah, it's very frustrating. And, stores that you used to, like Whole Foods, we used to really rely on that. Well, they sold out to Monsanto and they sell genetically modified foods now. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. And Whole Foods, you can't trust Whole Foods anymore. I mean, it's just like finding the only place that we've truly found that is almost 100% organic and natural is called Vitamin Cottage, natural grocers. And they do have stores, around. They fortunately have some here in the Albuquerque area. And that's where we spend most of our money. Because we can trust them that the food, and there's a saying that goes, you either spend your money on doctor bills or you spend it on good food.
right.
If you eat good food, you won't have the doctor bills.
Right. Choose your physician.
Yes.
Be it God food.
Mm-hmm.
So I call it God food, or man food.
Yeah.
and
with everything that's happened since the pandemic, there's become very, very little trust in, allopathic medicine anymore. And
yes,
the whole system has gone berserk. And so, I mean, for us, we have a great holistic chiropractor and a holistic acupuncturist, and that's what we choose.
That's great. And that's the way. That was always the way. Somehow we lost that along the way when the Rothschilds got themselves involved in health and that, in medicine.
Well, and it was the Rockefellers that
Rockefeller, sorry.
Yeah, they were the ones that really destroyed the healthcare system. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I mixed that up.
They're the ones that run the CDC. That we're taking all of our information from.
I know. Look, and yet there are good people working in these crazy places, and I feel for them. Mm-hmm. But do you feel like it's speeding up?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And does that have to do with the planets?
Well, the planetary alignments have been building up to this. We had Saturn conjunct Pluto, which is huge. We've had Uranus in Taurus, which is huge. We've had Pluto in Capricorn, which is huge. In terms of restructuring and creating chaos that ends up in the restructuring of the world. Because I don't know, as God created this astrological paradigm, it's the most elegantly, uniquely designed system that you can absolutely imagine, that makes everyone unique and that controls the workings of the heavens. And you can't get into it to the degree. I mean, I've had 8.5 years of formal training, but you never stop.
You're never done.
It's so vast. And when I first started, doing readings, I would go, could this really be going on in this person's life? And I'd question it myself. And then when I do the reading, I'd bring it up, and they would say, how did you know that?
Well, it's right here.
It's
right here.
Yeah, it's not something you make up. And right now the planetary alignments are very much toward restructuring the globe. It's interestingly enough, it goes along with biblical prophecy. It isn't just astrological. It's also if you're, reading the word, if you're in the scriptures, you see that this is in alignment. All of it has been in alignment. And, when you think about God, whatever your concept of God is, we have a pinprick of a view of what the whole plan is. God sees the entire thing, and he knows the hearts of men. God understands the hearts of men, and the hearts of men on this planet, they're soulless people who don't care about us. For people who think their government cares about you, I mean, that's naive.
Right. I think more and more I'm finding in conversations I have, more and more people are kind of coming to terms with that. They're starting to. They don't want to. I didn't want to.
No, nobody did.
Because that's just, come on, we voted them in, or we believed in them, or whatever our story is.
Right.
You mentioned the Bible, and do you feel this is showing up in Revelations or in the end time stuff? Because I see a lot of posts out there regarding Revelations and end times, and
I don't think we're quite there yet.
Mhm.
The time that I think we're in right now is the time of revival, where people are going to start turning to God. They have been pretty much godless, a lot of people, and we've been taught things that weren't true. I even realized that I was thinking things that weren't accurate based on especially New Age thought and that kind of thing. And so I think we're at a time of huge revival, people turning to God. And I think, in fact, I was reading in Matthew about the wheat and the tares, and it so specifically says that when the wheat is ready to harvest, you go in and you take out the tares and burn them. And then you can harvest the wheat. And I think that's the time
This is the time we're in. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, the tares are being brought forward, and I think they're going to be destroyed as the people who are what Jesus calls his body, the body of Christ, as they revive. And I mean, you see revival all over. In fact, this new movie out called The Jesus Revolution. Have you heard?
I was going to bring that up. That's great. I want to see it this weekend.
I know. I want to see it too. And I watched Chelsea Grammer as he was talking about it. He couldn't stop crying.
That's miraculous.
He could not stop crying. He said, this is the most miraculous movie. And it's a true story.
A friend of mine just saw that, and she was absolutely blown away. And I want to see it, but I know that this is what's happening. There's also an app called For the Chosen, I believe, is what
Yes.
And that's a fantastic app. It just tells the story of the New Testament.
Right. And it's Angel. If you go to angel.com, that's where you can watch the whole series, the whole 3 seasons of The Chosen. And I loved it.
Yeah, I got through season 2. I still have to do season 3, but it's amazing. And I know for myself, I listen to a Bible in a day. It's 365 days, a Bible in a year. And so every day I get, and it's because I didn't really learn that growing up. It wasn't part of my education. I didn't go there, and it's really fascinating. It's actually great. It's a great, it's not just a story, you feel the energy in it. So
if you even take that parable of the wheat and the tares, you recognize that Jesus knew back then what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the nature of man. And as you read the Old Testament, the Israelites are brought out of Egypt, but then they just keep complaining and they go into
only to revert to old behavior. But we do that, don't we? We humans
Yes,
do
we
that.
do. And
We,
we have to be brought up short to recognize that we're going down the wrong path. And part of what's happening now is to wake people up. The pain is getting so great that,
Mhm.
and the discomfort, people are like, there's got to be something going on. And how do I overcome this? How do I get through this? Well, they turn to God.
And that's because a lot of parents and a lot of, as I said in my opening, it's like, what do we do? How do you shore yourself up? And it is through spirituality. It is through connection. It is through grounding. It is through prayer, meditation, whatever you choose. And to get to that place.
That connection. I wanted to bring up something. When I first was elected to the Idaho legislature, one of the first gifts I was given was a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy. And I read that book and I was like dumbfounded at what these people who were in Congress had found since they'd been there. And this was back in the 70s. And so when the pandemic hit, I had already in that book seen the formula that they were using. So I knew it was all a ruse right from the beginning.
Wow.
It just fit the entire paradigm that I had been taught. And what people need to understand is that there are globalists out there. And those who run the party in power now are made up of globalists who want a one world government. They want the new world order, which deletes our sovereignty as a country. And that's what's happening now, is our sovereignty is just not only our human sovereignty, being forced to do things or take things that we don't want, but our country is losing its entire sovereignty. And not only that, our constitutional government. And the globalists don't care.
No, this is because it's just in their way.
It's
just in their way. But even we say the party that's in office now, the other party is a big part of it also.
Yeah.
It crosses party lines, like,
Yeah.
they're just a bunch of really bad apples.
Yeah. And they really are. And they've been, bolstering each other. The fellow who runs the World Economic Forum that gets so much press, this evil, maniacal man.
The guy with he needs an eye lift.
Yeah. But, he bragged about the fact that they'd gone around the world and infiltrated many governments and many parliaments and legislatures around the world so that he could have the power. He reminds me of the guy in the first 007 movie, of the bald guy who was, petting his white cat. I mean, this is the kind of maniacal person that is creating, literally, through his influence, legislation to take away our sovereignty, not only our country, but all countries around the globe.
Right, to enslave
They
us
have
all.
been infiltrated. The globe has been infiltrated with these evil, soulless people.
Which there is a lot of that going around. You can see it in your community too, and they're not necessarily part of the government, but there's like an emptiness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's why this revival is just so important.
With the schools, these colleges where these kids are like standing out and it's amazing.
And that astrologically, this was part of the plan. These children that were born before 2008, okay, there was a 20-year period of time when Pluto was in Sagittarius, okay, which means they were interested in religion. These were the group of kids that were born to help save the country. And look at them.
Isn't it beautiful? It's beautiful.
It's just beautiful, that's happening. And, we all should be getting on the bandwagon of that, because that's where our solace lies. And that's where our, what's the right word? that's where we're going to get the answers that we need. And we need to start electing upright spiritual people who are really connected, not the lambs in sheep's clothing.
Right, not the ones that just
Not that
talk.
wolves in sheep's clothing.
Right. Yeah, leave the lambs alone.
So many people question, and they have discernment and they feel their red flags, but they're afraid to really believe it.
Yeah, just in case. One foot in, one foot out, because it might not work out.
That's right. And you have to go whole hog into the spiritual answers, because this is a spiritual war. It's the war for our minds and our hearts and our souls,
Yes.
And you've got to get close to the God of your understanding and to be in prayer. And this has to be a consistent day-to-day routine in order for you to have the oomph that you need to move forward. And as things get worse, we're going to need a lot of power, people with a lot of oomph.
A lot of power. Well, there'll be a lot of people holding a lot of energy for a lot of people who are trying to what do you mean this is going on? Yeah. There's the talk around ascension. What do you know? Can you explain that? Or ascending, that rising up?
Well, a lot of that means by frequency,
mm-hmm.
where we get into the difference between third dimensional reality,
right.
which is where we live on the planet now, with all this crap that's going on, and that we are ascending into a higher frequency, okay, into a fifth dimensional frequency. Now they're higher than that. They're up to like at least 12 different levels of frequency, and probably a lot more that we aren't even aware of as yet. But when you raise your frequency, it thins the veil
mm-hmm.
between us and those on the other side. So you get more information easily. You get more intuition. You get more psychic information. People, when you say psychic, they go, oh, well, come on, no, I'm talking about you getting a psychic impression of what's right for you, having a dream or having an understanding. So the higher frequency you get, okay,
right.
And the other thing it does is it pulls you out of the world. In the scriptures, it says all the time, be in the world, but not of the world.
Love it. Yeah.
But my people are not of this world. And so we pull out and we go up into our high frequency world that doesn't have anything to do with all the nonsense going on down here. And so that's the goal. We are ascending above this third dimensional reality into a higher reality. And I think higher dimension, and I think it's my understanding that when the world finally does do the revelation thing, but it's not yet time. I believe it's not yet time for that. This is the time of the harvest. We got to
get the wheat going.
But then at the time when that revelation scenario does play out, then I think people will change from mortal to immortal within a twinkling of an eye. And I think that's part of it.
It's been prophesized, yes.
Right.
Yes. It's like two worlds. We split the two worlds.
Yeah, but we have the power right now, if we choose it, to evolve beyond this third dimensional reality and to really get up into the fifth dimensional reality, where you look down and you go, oh, was I there?
It's so, if you don't mind me throwing in a little experience of mine here and maybe ping off of it, is that when I had COVID, and it was like I was really sick, and it was May 2021, and my basically double pneumonia. I was having a hard time breathing. I was threatened when I went to the local quick doctor place. They said they wanted to put me in the hospital, and they said, you have 24 hours to pull it together, to see how it will work, and we'll get you through. Well, I had some of my own stuff I was doing, and also I asked for another course of what they had given me, And that night, I remember getting home and going to bed. And when I went in the middle of the night, I had a huge fever. I was sweating like crazy. And I went into this state of elevation. And in the state of elevation, I saw all my relatives, all my female relatives. I saw my father and I saw some of the men, but it was all females mostly. And we were there, and I felt like I was getting energy from them, but I was getting information also, like a load of information, because you mentioned the information, and I felt like I was getting a download. And and at that point I said, okay, thank you. And I turned around to go. And as I'm going, they're following me. And I stopped and I said, the portal's closing. I'm going, you're staying.
But we do have that choice. We actually do have that choice.
And I woke up and my fever broke.
Oh.
But it was like, it was my choice.
Yes.
That was probably one of my windows of, you can stay or go. This is your choice. I wanted to be here.
Yeah.
I'm not missing this stuff. I'm not missing it.
Oh, we're all here, at least those that have a purpose. There are those, in fact, Dolores Cannon talks about all of these lives, soulless lives that are just background people. They're just background people here. But those of us who came here by choice to help what's going on the planet, you know, we have a mission, we have a reason for being here. Mm-hmm. And so what you do, what I do, what all of these other people are doing to try and help other people and educate other people, it's part of our path, our soul's path, to be able to do this. They say sometimes it gets really hard, it gets really heavy, and they say it's just such a wonderful gift and joy to be able to do this. And I'm going, define joy, would you?
Yeah, right. Or just cut me some slack here, because it's a lot of work holding a lot of energy.
Yes.
Speaking of energy, everything is getting very wonky on the planet as far as energy and in our lives. Not only external energies such as man-made energies, and people energies, but our own energy. It's just interesting how energy is being played and toyed with.
Oh, yeah. And people don't realize it. You know, you mentioned geoengineering to people, you know, that they control the weather and that they create earthquakes and all of this stuff. And they go, oh, come on. Yeah, that can't be true. Yeah, it's true.
There's proof.
Very true. Yeah. And the HAARP, HAARP, energy system that they have up in Alaska, and there are other places that they're building more of them. Mm-hmm. You know, they control the weather. They can do it wherever they want. The way it's organized is, if, you know, a certain area they want to get control of it, they destroy it, and then they go in and clean it up and take control.
Well, that's like, look what went on in Turkey with the earthquake, the massive earthquake, and was it the prime minister there? He said, you guys created this. You made this happen. This was not a natural thing.
And it was interesting, a few days before the earthquakes, I watched a video with the head of Turkey, and he came right out and he said, you keep your hands off of our country. I don't care what ambassador you are. I don't care who you think you are. Keep your filthy hands off of our country. And he said that 3 or 4 times. And then 3 days later, we get a 7.5. And then the second was, it was a 7.8, but was recalibrated to an 8.1. Now that is highly unusual.
Right.
To have one even bigger, the second one even bigger.
Right. Usually they're breaking down.
Right.
Right.
Rarely. And then of course they've had hundreds and hundreds. So yes, those earthquakes were created. And don't think they won't do more. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to recognize who we're dealing with here. And these people don't have souls like we do. They're pretty soulless people. They just want power, you know, and they don't care what they have to do to get it.
And they're not a very these people, these reptiles, whatever you want to call them, there's not a big load of them, but we are following this nonsense.
Yeah. And people buy into it. And if people are listening to the mainstream media, they're being deceived on a day-to-day basis. They're being lied to. They're being paid to lie to us, you know. And the best thing is to get out of that. Don't listen to it anymore.
Well, and even with listening to alternative media sources, which are great, some are not. A lot of that gets toyed with too, because as soon as you think you're following somebody who seems somewhat truthful and is able to substantiate what they're saying, like even what we're talking about and who we're listening to, can all of a sudden turn on a dime and not be what they started as.
Yeah.
Like they got somehow usurped.
Yes.
Their energy's changed.
They're bought off. They're the people, the cabal, the elites, the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, they could not function without the media. They have to own the media to keep spilling all of this garbage and nonsense that people believe. That's what keeps them in power. But if the media collapses, they will lose their power because they have nobody then that's going to spout their lies.
And maybe we'll find the truth.
Yeah. There are some good, and I keep sifting through on alternate. One that I like really well is called Redacted. And actually, they're an American couple, but they live in Peru.
Smart.
You can find them on YouTube. And I like it's a husband and wife team.
So they report everything that's been redacted, but hasn't gone to the media. The media has not.
Right. And they come up with some really helpful.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
They're exactly what they say they are. I have one more wonky question to pick your brain on. Is speaking of energy in the financial space. There's a lot of talk and energy around the financial world is getting crazy.
Yeah.
And how do we find balance in that? Because we don't, I know the quantum system's supposed to be kicking in, or is it kicked in, but they're not announcing it. They'll probably never announce it. Whatever that means, we still have to kind of take care of our families. We have to take care of our families, and they have to live life and find our spiritual space and keep moving forward.
Well, people don't understand that, like, the Federal Reserve is not a government agency. It's an independent company.
Just like the NIH, the National Health
Yeah.
Institute.
And the World Bank, that these globalists have been taking over the world with the world banks and putting world banks in the only country literally that kicked them out was Russia.
Funny how that is. Yeah. I think, there's a lot around that.
And what we have to look at as we look around the world, just as an aside, what countries want the world, the new world order, the global, order, and which ones don't.
Right.
Then we know who maybe is on our side.
Yeah.
Don't want a one world government. We don't want it either.
They make it sound so wonderful, though. No borders, no anything. No, we're all one happy people, and we'll live in 15-minute cities.
Oh my God, 15-minute prisons. But anyway, beyond that, the money system. Now, the globalists are pushing for, cryptocurrency that's run by the government, where they can track everything you spend. And if they don't like the size of your carbon footprint, they cut off your money. Now, they're already doing that in China. So the processes to do it and get it done already exist.
Wow.
And we have to say, we're not buying it. We're not doing that,
Right.
And each country, ideally, needs to have their sovereignty and have their own money exchange, and that's what we need to have here in the United States. But our dollar is now plummeting all over the world. It doesn't
It's
hold.
shored up. They have it like kind of on like a really sketchy
Right. Well,
looking
they keep printing
scaffolding.
more and more money. Our debt is like $31 trillion. I mean, with no support behind it.
Right. There's
So
nothing there.
what's
Air.
going to happen is this country, astrologically, it shows it, the country's chart. And with Pluto, they're in their Pluto return, which is the death of the old and birth of the new. And it happens in the US chart, second house of money. That
Wow.
means there's going to be a collapse in this country, financial collapse. And so what I've been telling people for some time is be prepared, have water and food and medicines, and everything that you need to last for a few months. Excuse me. Also have some money, some cash.
Yeah.
At least $300 or $400. And I
Yeah,
would say
just to get you through.
keep your gas tank full.
Yeah, you can even use it if they haven't, blocked the roads or whatever. Who knows what will go on? But
Who knows? One of the things that little book, None Dare Call It Conspiracy, said is if they start preventing interstate travel, that they've got it locked down. So I'm always watching for that.
yeah, I keep hearing rumblings about that, but not, it's hard because we're getting our news from all sorts of different sources. And do you really believe it? I don't know,
But the other thing too, astrologically, and I just let people know this, use your intuition and your discernment for flying in March.
Yeah, I remember you Wendy, by the way, has an amazing YouTube clip that you already have out. It's on your YouTube, and I'm going to send that out to everybody because it's fantastic. And you talk about your workshop that you're now launching.
Yeah.
I know it sounds great because
we'll be diving deeper into some of these things. People who are interested, some people right now with the pain they've gone through and they see all these people dropping dead,
yeah,
they're starting to wake up. There's a little crack there. And if you're wanting to enlarge that crack and take in more information, then I think the workshop will be very helpful. I'm doing it on the 9th of April.
Great. Yeah, that it sounds amazing. It sounds really great. And I want to take it. That's for sure. I'm going to, because we all need to have a little Wendy in our life because it's just a good feeling. It's a validation of what certainly for me, for what I already feel. Or I get nudges of, but I love how astrology, and even we talked about it. I think prior to getting on air, we were talking about Akashic records and how just knowing some of our past, gives us strength for the future.
Right. Well, the Akashic records are the records of our soul since it was born. And those records are kept. In the Bible, it talks about that it's written in the book of life. Well, that's another way of talking about the Akashic records. And so that's a really great way to dive deeper into your spiritual connection, to be able to read those records. Yeah.
Yeah. And you do teach a class on that. You have classes in that, which is very cool to learn to do that for yourself.
Right. Exactly.
This way, you're not constantly searching out
somebody else
answers.
Right.
You can discern the information and really connect to
what Jesus taught. He didn't fish for the people, he taught them how to fish.
Yes.
And that's what we all need to do, is learn to get our own answers, learn to be aware of our intuition, what is it? How does it feel when we're getting an answer within ourselves? And people aren't aware of that because they're so used to going to their priest or going to, this person or this reader or that. And they haven't yet learned to understand what it feels like to get an answer in their bodies. And that's what I like to help people do, is learn what that feeling feels like, and you get your own answers. You don't have to go outside of yourself.
That's beautiful. Thank you for saying that. I think often people of faith, and even ones who, whatever, follow a path of a spiritual path,
A
whatever
belief
that
system.
looks for.
Yeah, a belief system.
Um, we often think, I know, because the whole New Age movement, we didn't really talk about that, but I know I was really into the New Age stuff and kind of set my traditional spiritual path to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, it's just been it's been calling me forward, which is why having you here is perfect.
Me too. I was raised Mormon, and I threw that baby out with the bathwater, back in the late 80s, and went into the New Age.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm being called back, not to become a Mormon, not necessarily to be involved in a religion, but to get the information from the scriptures, so that I feel like I'm getting the direct connection between me and my creator. That's what I want. I don't want middlemen. I don't need middlemen. Some people like middlemen, and that's great.
Right.
What works for you.
Well, that way you don't have to do so much work.
That's right.
And hopefully the middleman is a good middleman.
A good middleman.
Right. And that's why, like you mentioned, Dolores Cannon, and she's, amazing with her profound statements. But she is a teacher, like you. She's not the middleman.
Right. And she developed a system of, taking people back to their soul, past their mind into their soul, and finding out about the lives that they lived, which are just absolutely tremendous. In fact, her one gal that she channeled for 3 months, when she found out who this girl had been, the name was Sooty, and she lived in Qumran, Israel, and was an Essene, which is where Jesus got a lot of his training. And so from her regressing this woman back to this life, Dolores Cannon wrote a book called Jesus and the Essenes that is so good.
Really, I'm going to
So
get that.
powerful. It's like you don't even want to put it down. And it's through the eyes of Sooty, who became later on in life one of Jesus's teachers that taught Jesus about the law. Qumran and the Essenes were the teachers. They were called the keepers of the way. And fascinating information. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Oh, Wendy, you are just a gem. Thank you so much. Do you have any last thoughts for our conversation today? Anything you'd like our listeners to take away as far as how to get through these times?
Well, the times are going to get worse, and people need to be aware of that. And so the way to get through it is to get close to the God of your understanding. That's the way you're going to get through it. And pray, get that individual communication back with God on a day-to-day basis, where you can talk. I had a quick, just quickly, a woman that I dealt with years and years ago. Her name was Louise Lake, and she had a wonderful history, but I went and helped her for a period of time, and she couldn't find her burial shoes. She had me gather her burial clothes because she knew she was going to die. Couldn't find the shoes. And she sat there in front of me and prayed as though God, Jesus, was right in front of her. Okay, now I need to find these shoes. Will you please open the way for me to find these shoes?
Wow.
And I was taken back with actually the intimate communication style. And then it wasn't an hour later that her doorbell rang, and it was an old housekeeper. And Louise said to me, let her in. She knows where my shoes are. It was just like within an hour.
Wow.
And so much can come through our faith,
Mm-hmm.
that we trust in the God of our understanding, that we have faith, that we will have our needs met, and we will be protected and preserved and restored.
Yes, restored. A little restoration work for our connection work and our spirituality. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you so much. And I'm just going to, in closing, to our listeners, I will have posted on all of the show description where you can find Wendy, all the info around her workshop, her classes, everything you want to know about Wendy, as far as I can put on my description, will be there. Also, I will be there. All of my information. Please come to my website and check it out. I would sign up for a 20-minute, a session with me, just to see if it'll work out, just to see how we can help each other. So, if you take a moment, take a deep breath, and exhale. And know that you're not alone. Here on the Family Balancing Act.